Hello everyone and welcome to the newest Oxygen XML webinar. My name is Alim Belu and I will be your host for today's live event that marks the fourth installment of your journey into PDF customization. I'm talking about transforming DITA documents to PDF using CSS Part 4, Advanced CSS Rules. Julian Licor, senior software developer at Synchrosoft, is returning to share lots of information with those of you that were already thinking, for example, about controlling the change bars display, modifying your PDF viewer behavior, or just centering and rotating your tables. I guarantee that we will have almost an hour of premium content. So I'm really excited for today's presentation, and I hope that you are as well. Now, let me quickly recap some useful information that you need to know about this event. As always, all of our webinars are being recorded, so is this one. After the webinar comes to an end, the recording will be made available on the event page on our site, oxygenxml.com, along with Julian's presentation slides and samples, and also the recording will be uploaded on our YouTube channel titled Oxygen XML, that some of you might be accustomed with by now. And if not, I encourage you to take a look at it afterwards and see for yourself the impressive library of tutorials that are available there. Another important aspect that we care about is that as we go along, we encourage you to ask us questions by using the questions panel from the GoToWebinar interface, where our colleagues Dan and Aline will assist us by answering to all of your questions in real time. And of course, we will be addressing those questions again at the end in a Q&A session, along with the latest entries for the benefit of everyone joining us today. With all of this being said, I'm wrapping up my introduction so I can introduce the man of the hour, today's presenter, Julian Licor. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Aline. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of transforming DITA documents to PDF using CSS. Today, as Aline mentioned, we will focus on advanced CSS rules. These rules will be some common requirements you may have in your own outputs. Let's start with what will be more like a reminder for most of you. You can use the DITA output class attribute to create a subgroup of elements that can be styled differently than the others. Like in the examples below, where I selected all the elements with output class side by side, or all the figures with output class center. Another useful tool for your CSS selectors is the nth child pseudoclass. It allows you to select some elements based on their position. A common example of this pseudoclass is the selection of some rows in a table. Today, we will also learn how to use two Oxygen custom CSS properties. The first one is the Oxy change bar set of properties, which allows you to control the change bar's display. And the second one is the Oxy PDF viewer set of properties. These properties are sent to the PDF viewer to override some of its parameters for a given PDF. Of course, we will learn more about these properties later in this presentation. Our first use case will be an easy and a frequent one. I don't want to scare you from the beginning. Our requirement here is to center figures in the middle of a page. The thing is, I just want a single figure to be centered. So for that, I just need to mark my figure with the output class in order to identify it in all my between all my figures. So if I take this example in Oxygen, we can open a topic in author mode, select the figure element, and you can easily see here the output class I chose for my example. Then the only thing I need to add is to create a custom CSS rule using this output class, and I will use a really simple rule from this example, which consists in just aligning the text, because in my example my figure has an inline image, and not for those who know a little more about DITA, you can have inline image and break images, which are displayed as blocks. But in my example, I use an inline image, which means that aligning the text will result in aligning the image. Of course, I can already check in my generated PDF, and as you can see here, my figure is correctly centered in the middle of my page. The second use case will be to display figures and their descriptions side by side. As a prerequisite, I need to wrap both the figure and its description in a new element. You can notice that I marked this new element with an output class too. This in order to identify it, as some of you may know that the div element is quite a generic data element for a block. Once this is done, I just need to create two inline blocks in my CSS structure. So here you can see my side-by-side CSS rules. So you can see that there is one specific rule creating an inline block for the paragraph, and another similar rule for the figure. Those blocks width will be less than half the page width. And this is just because my PDF pages already define some margins. And using exactly half of the available width could result in a bleeding content, and my content will be displayed out of the page. So this is why I not use all the space. Of course, if we go back to the generated PDF, you can see here and in the following pages how the output is generated, and you can easily see that the text is displayed on the left part and the image is on the right part. Let's now move on from the figures to the tables. Once again, with a simple non-scaling use case identical to our first one. Thankfully, this is easy as pie, as I will use an old CSS magic trick, the automatic margins. By setting those values for both left and right margins, I simply tell the processor to use all the available horizontal space and thus centering the tables. As a side note here, you will need to use fixed values in your table call specs, because relative values such as percentages will be calculated based on the available page width. So the result will be a table following the whole page width. So if I go to my example, so as I mentioned in my note, I specified some fixed dimensions for this table. And if I go to my output, you will see here that the table has been centered. And for the title centering, I simply added a rule similar to the first one, which is to align the text in the center of the page. The next table use case will consist into adding stripes inside tables. For this, I basically need to select one row every 2 rows. I just need to use the nth child pseudo class in combination with the odd keyword, and I will obtain the result you can already see here. And so in my CSS, I already defined those 2 rules. So a simple one for the headers of my table to use a darker color. And then for all the odd body rows, so from 1, 3, 5, etc., I will use a light gray background color. And you have already seen that those colors have been applied on my table. Moving on to our next use case, the cells content rotation. This may seem complicated at first, but in fact, DITA is here to help us. Maybe you already know that DITA has a rotate attribute. Once this attribute is set with the value 1, and with the help of our default style sheets, the cell content will automatically rotate. In addition to our default CSS rules, I also define some other properties that allow me to center the text using the padding and to display the text into multiple lines using the whitespace property. You will notice here that I set the left padding and not the top padding. This is because only the cell content is rotated, so all the borders and paddings remain in the same position. And of course, this also applies to the vertical alignment. And if I go back to my CSS, to my PDF, generated PDF, you can see here that those cells have been rotated, and then this one has also been splitted, and a new line break is displayed here to not have a big cell. Another now we have finished, I'm sorry, for the image and table customization part, and we will try something else. How about the change bars? Before all, you need to activate them by setting the show changes and comments parameter in the transformation scenario. So once I'm in Oxygen, I just need to check on my transformation scenario and select the show changes and comment. If you don't know how to search for the correct parameter, you can use our filtering input and simply set the value to yes. You can also see here below that there is another specific parameter for the change bars, which by default is activated. That means that every change will be displayed with a change bar on the side. And of course, the second step to having change bars displayed in your document is to have some tracked changes in your document. For example, in this topic, I inserted a new paragraph and I corrected a word. And now back to my PDF, you can see here that I have here 2 change bars corresponding to my 2 insertions. And that those change bars are displayed at the end of the page and are red change bars. And so this corresponds to the CSS properties that I set on them, which are this one for the placement, which is at the end of the line. I use a solid red bar and I move it 1/4 of an inch from the end of the line. Another frequent requirement is to change the icon displayed before the notes. those icons are actually background images, so you just need to change their values like in the following examples. Here, the first rule will change only the notes images, and my second rule will change the danger, the note with the type danger. Once again, if I see directly the result in my PDF, you can see here a classic note element with its custom icon. And here the same modification only for the danger note. Here, for example, below you can see the warning note, which still uses its default icon. Finally, did you know that you can also control the PDF viewer display directly from the CSS style sheet? Oxygen PDF Chemistry has custom CSS properties allowing you to change the zoom or the page layout of the PDF viewer directly without changing anything inside the options and the parameters of the PDF viewer. So with the example I used today, you can see that in Oxygen, I already set the viewer zoom to fit the page height, which we can easily see here. So my page stops exactly, the zoom stops exactly at the end of the page. The use outlines mode means that the PDF viewer show the bookmarks window will already be open in the PDF viewer. And of course, the 2-column left layout means that I should have 2 columns display, so 2 pages at the same time, all the odd pages on the left side. And before we finish, of course, I always attached all the useful links that helped me creating this webinar, and in which you can continue and find more examples. But before leaving you, I have a small bonus, which will be a little more complicated example for today. For all the people who wants to go further in their customization and wants to replace the default strings that are displayed in their PDF and don't know how to do that, you have to know that there is 2 methods to change those strings. The first one, which is the simplest one, is to override the default CSS rules. And for helping me doing that, I will debug the CSS style sheet using my browser. So, for example, I want to change in my PDF the word chapter by the word section. So for this, I will open the merge.html file in my browser, which allows me to debug the output and the CSS rules. What I mean by debugging the CSS is that I can easily select any of the content and inspect it. The result of this inspect is the opening of the console, of the browser console. And if you check a little here, you can easily see that by selecting the nav title, so the table of content nav title, I have the following rules applied on it. Some of them are our default ones, and some of them are the browser's default ones. And here you can see that one of the rules controls the display of the chapter text and the counter before the text. You can try to disable it to see how it could be without it. And another useful trick that you can do is that you can click on the style sheet name. It will open the style sheet in the style editor. You can select the rule that is applied. You then go to Oxygen, simply paste the rule and change the name you want to display. Oh, sorry. I will do this and for the table of content, and of course I need to modify this for the rest of the document. So with the same process, I open the style sheet, select the rule, copy it in Oxygen, and modify the name. After that, I simply need to rerun the transformation, and my output will be generated with the correct string. So we will wait a little for the output to be generated. Opening the PDF viewer. And we should see the correct sections displayed in the output. And that's it. So as you can see here, the word has been changed. Same for the bookmarks and same from the content. And now, if we continue the bonus part, for some other strings, we will need to do a little more work. For this, the first step will be to create a new plugin, which will be a localization plugin, and we need to integrate it in our Oxygen publishing engine. So as a requirement and as a recommendation, you should better use an external publishing engine to ensure nothing is lost when upgrading Oxygen. And by using an external Oxygen publishing engine, it will be much easier to share your custom plugins between all your team members. So in Oxygen, I already have my custom project. I already download from our website a custom publishing engine, which is here. The first thing I need to do is to go to the preferences, to go to the DITA options, and to select my custom publishing engine. So I will set it to the project directory / publishing engine, which is the path to my main folder. Then once this is done, I just need to go into the plugins folder, create a new folder, give it a name, for example, com oxygen xml dot, let's call it PDF CSS localization. This is right. And once this folder is done, I just need to create a few files. So the first one will be a plugin XML file, which is a DITA plugin file, which you can create by using the DITA OT plugin new template, where I report the same name as my folder to make it easier to search. I indicate that my plugin extends and requires the default PDF CSS plugin, and that this plugin will define some new strings in a file called PDF extension strings.xml. So once this is done, the second step will be to use and to create, of course, this PDF extension strings XML, which will have a list of languages that our plugin supports, in my example only English, and in which I will refer another file which will contain my modified strings. And here is the last file of my plugin. And in this new file, I define a list of strings that I need to replace. So the first thing you have to know is that in order to get the name and the IDs of the strings you want to replace, usually you have to check in the database common folder. Here, for example, if you check the English strings, you can see here the string used for the table word, which I replaced by array. And another useful location for this one is the default PDF transformation, which also contains in its common settings another file that contains other strings that we also use in the PDF CSS transformation. So with these two files, I simply took the different strings I need. I copied them into my custom plugin, and then I just replaced the values of those words. One really important step once the plugin is done is to run the DITA integrator, because without this scenario, the new plugin will be not taken in account in the process. So as you can see here, now the publishing engine knows that there is a new plugin called COM_OxygenXML PDFCSS.location. And if I run again my transformation scenario and close my file, I will obtain the same output, but with the words changed. So let's wait a little more for the transformation to finish, and I will show you where the words are placed in my example. So as you can see in the final output, you can see that the list of tables has been replaced by the list of arrays, that the table word is now array, same in the document. And if I check my warning note, you can see that the warning note is now uppercase. A lot of those rules that I used today can also be accessed from our Oxygen styles basket. For the tables, you will find here inside the content styling table style all the border settings. You can also set up all the border size, and if you select some colors and you go back to the color settings, you should be able to select the strip or the strip reverse options, which if you check is exactly the rule that I used in my example with the nth child pseudo class. And of course, I invite you to check as many options and galleries that we have here for people that don't want to generate everything from scratch. The advantage of using the stylus basket is that you can directly download a zip file which contains a publishing template, which will be already the starting point of your customization, and you will already have some basic files that you will find here back in my advanced customization. So if I get back here, I have my style options, and this is what I just download from the styles basket. And as you can see, we have some color settings, and we also have the stripe rules. And with this being said, I first want to ask you how the information in this webinar was for you. Okay, so for majority of you, it was exactly perfect for your needs, and I'm glad to hear that. And I want to thank you all for listening to me during this presentation. And of course, if you have questions, you can ask them and we will answer them directly. Thank you.
Thank you again, Julian. Big thank you to all the people that attended your presentation today, and a big thank you to the people from our audience that already asked questions during Julian's presentation. So let's go to the questions panel and see what we have on there. Okay, the first question, how does the side-by-side changes look when you output to web?
That's a really good question. As far as I know, this should only work on the PDF, but I think we can give it a shot and see how it works on the PDF, on the web help side. The thing is, I just need to select my custom publishing template, which is here, webinars. The idea is that for web help, you will have even more customizations available because you can also use the flex support. For example, if you want a more advanced display. So if I can get a check to these ones. No, this is not working in the PDF on the web website. You will have to use, I think, a flex support will be better for this in the web output. Or to use different columns, and it will be something different.
Okay, thank you, Julian. Let's jump to the next question. A question asked by MJ. My PDF page 1 shows page 5 because of the table of contents cover and such. Please, how can I reset it only in chapter 1 to page 1 and then have the rest flow along?
It's easy to do. You should have, we already have a topic dealing about that in our user guide. Let me search. Here is the good one. You just need to follow the instruction in the how to reset the page numbering. In my example, I am not using deep context, so I will use the default one, and I should obtain the correct output now. If I add the rules from here and I generate the output, I should obtain the correct numbering, or at least the one you are expecting. If you wait a little. But everything is documented in the user guide.
Perfect, thank you. Let's jump to the next question. How does the output class equals side-by-side differs from an implementation of the output class equals float in Oxygen PDF chemistry?
Currently, Oxygen PDF Chemistry does not support the floating on the image and text, so you cannot use the float properties to position the content. So this is why, as for this moment, we have the side-by-side solution, but in the future, we will also implement the floating for all the images. And now,
Thank you.
just for finishing with the first question, now you can see that if I select the numbering, that my first chapter is on the first page, even if it's the 5th page of the whole document. So this is what you were expecting.
Thank you, Julian, for this example. We have a question from Barbara. I see this is part 4. I missed the first 3 parts. Can I get the links to recording and materials? And yes, Barbara, if you go to the event page of today's webinar, you can see the other episodes of our series in the related webinar section. So you can see all of the former webinars that will get your journey to PDF customization starting right from the beginning. About the, yes.
Sorry, and also if Barbara prefers the YouTube channel, she can also find all the first 3 parts in our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. About a question about the change bars. Did I understand correctly that Oxygen automatically tracks what has changed in the document by default? So no need to add any output class values or else to the content?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
The only thing you need to do is to click the track changes button before editing the topic. And then after, once this is activated, if you remove some content or add new content, the PDF will also already have the modifications as sticky notes, and the change bars will be displayed in the document automatically. The thing I shown today are just to change the customization of the change bars, so to use different colors, different position, etc.
We have some feedback for you, Julian. Great presentation by John. We have
Thank you, John.
a big thank you from MJ. You answered the question previously. We have a question from Edwin. I use the styles basket to create a PDF template. It works all right, but I get quite a lot of errors of the type content overflows the viewport, especially for images. I think we can answer that question by email. I think it's a little bit too technical.
Yeah, maybe
It
for
regards some
the
debugging.
best
Yeah.
use case for that is to write us at support@oxygenxml.com. But as a general rule, the content overflows warning should be visible in the PDF, and you should have images that are over the PDF margins or even bleeding outside of the page. Normally it's linked, but you can write to us and we can debug it together.
Another question, is it possible to add XREFs or links to other PDFs in the bookmarks?
Currently, it is not possible because you need to alter the bookmarks to add new ones. You can replace the bookmarks, but you cannot add or remove, or you cannot add new ones. Sorry.
We have another feedback for you. Fantastic presentation from Rick. If there are any other questions, we will return by email if you are still thinking of some questions. And also, Julian, I have a little request. Can we return to the part with the table customization and maybe show the people how we can do it from the styles basket?
Yeah, I already been there, but we can go a little more inside it.
Yeah.
But currently in status basket, there is no customization related to the centering of the tables, but in the future we will add one. At this moment, we just have the style for all the borders, border size, and colors. So we have the strip part only. But in the future, we will have also all the centering part.
Thank you. Okay, I will take back control. Just a little bit. And also, we have a behind the scene request from our colleagues. Can you please show the documentation for tables and change tracking, the documentation for it?
Sure, I can. So all the tables, anyway, all the tables parts can also be accessed by the links I gave inside the webinar. The table, all the tables related topics are here. You can find here all the parts with the rotation content, on the centering content, the stripe, and even more examples. Everything came with some custom CSS rules that you just need to copy inside your custom style sheets and run the transformation again. Same can apply for the images. For example, all the rotation, the image rotation, the side-by-side part, the centering of images is also available in our user guide.
Thank you, Julian, for your in-depth information that you presented to us during today's event. I will take control and talk a little bit about the fact that today's webinar is being being recorded, and you will find this recording starting tomorrow along with Julian's presentation slides on the event page. And if you have any comments or questions regarding the presentation, you can write to us directly by using the Oxygen feedback commenting platform found at the bottom of this very same page, or just give us an email at the support address. Before saying goodbye, let me say a few words about our upcoming webinar, where you can meet our colleague Bogdan Dumitru, that will be presenting the What's New in Oxygen XML Web Author 25.0 webinar. During this live event, you will discover the new features included in the latest release of the Oxygen XML Web Author related to DITA map files editing, as well as other general enhancements that will improve your editing experience regardless of the edited document type. Also, we encourage you to take a look at our events page, where you can also find the links to register for free to all of our future events. Now, in closing, I want to thank you all for being able to join us for our second live event of 2023. I hope you had a great time and that you enjoyed Julian's presentation. Again, a big thank you to our today's presenter, Julian Lecor. Thank you, Julian.
And thank you to all the people that came today.
And also a big thank you to Dan and Aline that were behind the scenes to make sure that all of your questions were answered in real time. As a reminder, you can also go to our YouTube channel, Oxygen XML, where you will have, starting tomorrow, today's recording, and of course the last three parts of this ongoing series related to PDF customization. As always, we have some great events ahead of us. that will be scheduled very soon, and I hope that some of you will be able to join us again in the following weeks. Until next time, stay safe and have a great day or evening. Bye bye.